Yo, 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 how's everybody going? No, that's not good enough. We unapologetically chasing dreams. How's everybody doing out there today? Hey, that was a lot. Real quick, I'm your host, Dre Lane. Shout out to Sparta Media Group for bringing us all together, a night for motivation and networking. We're here, and everybody that's in this building obviously is unapologetically chasing their dreams. So big ups. Give yourself a hand for coming here today. You guys all look amazing. Just to start it off real quick, if y'all feeling good out there, let me hear you say, ooh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
One more time, that was almost beautiful. Ooh, yeah. Love it, guys, love it. So before we go ahead and get this amazing event started, we got something special. We have a special birthday girl in the house today, okay? Let's give it up. Today's birthday girl, her name is Jenny Smith. And for you, Jenny Smith, want to sing happy birthday to you. It's your special day. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, yeah.
Did you tell
Happy
somebody about
birthday to Jenny.
Next to the guy
Happy
with the,
birthday to you. Happy birthday, Jenny. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here at the iconic Social Capital Event Center. This is an amazing location. And our next guest, our next speaker that's coming up, he's done an amazing job, set a pillar in the community. We have the CEO of Social Capital coming up with us. Let's go ahead and welcome Anthony Lambatos.
What's up, brother? Whew. How many of you remember the question? Nobody? Come on now. And what was the answer when you were a kid? What did you say? Firefighter. Give me another one. Singer. Give me another one. I love it. I love it. Well, I'll tell you what I did not want to be. I did not want to be a caterer. Despite my dad having a catering business and growing up in it, I knew that was not what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a professional basketball player. And I'd spend every day out in the driveway making baskets, shooting hoops. My mom would drag me for dinner, and then after dinner I'd chase back out there, meet up with my friends. Every day we were practicing. But at 5'10", when I stopped growing in high school, my NBA dream started to fade away. But I still had this love for sports. And so I said, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go pursue that dream, chase my dream of being in sports. And so I studied sports marketing at the University of Oregon and had a few turn of events that happened in my life that brought me back to our family business. And there was one day particularly that struck me because I was working with my dad, and at the time, we had a very contentious relationship. It was a difficult thing working with my dad. And I was having breakfast with a mentor of mine, Bob Carruthers, and we're in one of those restaurants, the diners, the greasy spoons, the type where the waitress calls you hun, and bacon, just the smell of it permeates the air, you know. And I said, Bob, I missed my calling. And he said, what do you mean, Anthony? I said, well, I should have been a college basketball coach. And he says, well, why? Tell me why. And I said, well, here's the thing. In college, you get to recruit people to come be part of your team, and they make the decision to come join what you're doing. And then you get all these different personalities together, and then you have to figure out how they're going to work together and how they're going to cohesively be a team. And there's strategy involved, and there's competition, and you have to scout out a game plan for where you're going to go. And in college, they want to get to the next level, and I think it's awesome that you can help them grow and get there. And I'm going on, and I said, and they wear nice suits, and I kind of like to wear nice suits too, so it all works, and that's what I should have done. And he looked at me, and he said, Anthony, you have a chance to do all of that right now at Footer's Catering. And it was that moment that completely changed the trajectory of my career, because I realized that my job at Footer's Catering wasn't to figure out what menu we were going to serve, wasn't to figure out how we were going to execute an event. My job was to come to work and put the right people on the team. My job was to come and make sure that they had opportunities to grow, to create an environment where they could thrive, where they could do things that they didn't know they could do, and we could think about the strategy that was involved in all of that. And so after that, I had this epiphany that maybe this should be my career path. Maybe this is where I need to lean in. And so my wife, April, and I, at the time, this was 12 years ago, we said, maybe we should buy the business from my dad. And so that's what happened. 12 years ago, we purchased the business from my dad. And Footers has a rich history. Is anyone a Denver native? Do I have any Denver natives? Okay, all right. And anyone around Denver and Capitol Hill in the 80s? I know oh, there we go. Sir, did you ever remember Footers Restaurant by any chance? All right, okay, fair. Well, Footers Restaurant was a very special place that people still talk about today. I'll run into people on the street and they'll say, oh, Footers Catering, were you associated with the restaurant? I love that place. And they'll tell me stories about my dad that when expecting moms would come into the restaurant, he'd demand to know the due date, and he'd follow up and deliver dinner in the hospital. And these stories of my dad, he is the consummate host. He is a hospitality professional. But like I said, I saw another side of that because my sister and I joke that if you want to see dad, then you go to work. That's where he poured his whole life into, and I started to resent the catering business a little bit. My dad also was nicknamed the Tornado. And what that meant is that when, you're having a good day and you're working at your desk and all of a sudden my dad comes in and he starts yelling and throwing things and he's screaming about this and he's yelling about this and he's going around and pretty soon he leaves and you look around and everybody's hair is like a little disheveled and there's like papers everywhere and it's like, yeah, the tornado just came through. So for all the beauty that my dad had with guests, he didn't have that same charisma with his team. And so when my wife April and I bought the business, the first and foremost, most important thing we wanted was just create a great place to work. We didn't care about being the biggest catering company in Denver. We didn't care about winning a bunch of awards. We just wanted to create a great place to work and create a culture where our team members could thrive. And we didn't have a mission statement or vision or values or any of those things. So we asked our team, why do you work at Footers? What's important to you? And 3 themes came up. And my apologies to anyone who has a scripty, well-crafted mission statement. I'm not a big fan of them. Most times they end up in a frame on a wall that everybody just walks by and nobody really looks like. And it's, we strive to be the very best, blah, blah, blah. And we wanted something that our team actually would know and resonate with. And so we created our 3-bullet mission statement. Love what you do, make it better every day, and create exceptional experiences for our clients and their guests. That first part, we understand that when our team loves their job, they're going to provide a higher level of service to our guests. The second part, make it better every day. We've been doing this for 40 years. We don't want to do the same thing my dad did in the 80s. I mean, we have these great pictures of him at a buffet with all this kale that's used as a display, and we tell him, Dad, now we actually put kale in the bowl and serve it to people. And the third part, create exceptional experiences for our clients and their guests. We get to be part of some of the most special days in people's lives. We cater over 600 events a year, and we're a full-service catering company that we go out to these events with our team to really be part of something special. And when we honor that and understand that, it's a different approach. I had a team member a while back in this wedding we're working, and he just keeps running back, and he's like, it's so hot in there, they just keep drinking all the water, and I fill up all their glasses, but they just keep drinking it. And it was at that moment I realized, we've missed an opportunity to educate this young man that his job is not to fill water glasses, his job is to create an experience, to make sure people, when they're at this event, have something to drink, that they're in an environment that they can enjoy the event and not be sweating to death. And so that's all has manifested itself into something that's beyond my wildest dreams of where we've got. When we look at where we are today, we've grown 4 times where we were when we bought the business from my dad, both in revenue-wise, profitability-wise, but also physical space. And that's what brings us here to Social Capital. This was a crazy story for us, getting to this building. We have historically always done off-premise catering. And in 2019, we sold both of our buildings, and at that point, we had to decide what we were going to do next. We knew we wanted to grow, and we wanted to do some different things that aligned with catering, but maybe not just grow our catering business. And so we sought out to find not only a home for our catering business, but also an event center where we could host events like this. And so in December of 2019, we purchased this building with the plans to build it out. And if any of you remember what happened a few months later, the bottom fell out of our business. And when you're in the catering and event business and you're told that people can no longer gather again, that makes your heart skip a beat. That was an extremely difficult time for us as a company to face the fact I never in my wildest dreams thought that I could have a thriving business that could go to zero overnight. I always knew you had to be prepared for a recession or a fallback, but to actually not be able to make money the way we make money was a real slap in the face. And I don't know about you, but it was my first pandemic, so I was in uncharted territory of trying to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to save this business. And so we had a lot of conversations, and there was one day that changed my perspective. It was, we don't have to do this. I stopped being the victim of, oh my gosh, how could this happen to us? We're in this terrible situation. And I started to realize, I'm like, wait, we can close the doors and be done. We can sell this whole thing and just walk away and just call it a day, and I'll go do something else. And we talked about it with our team, and we said, well, one of two things is going to happen. Either we believe that this fundamentally changes events and people won't gather again, or the reverse happens, and that once the pandemic passes, people will have more of a desire to be in person, to gather, and to come back. And so if we believe the first, then we should just be done. But if we believe the second thing, then let's seize an opportunity when everyone else is shrinking to maybe go expand. And so that's what we did. We looked at this place and said, let's double down, let's go borrow more money to do the build out, let's forge ahead. And what that did is it created a light at the end of our tunnel for our team. We saw what we were working towards. We had people in here that were doing light demo chefs that we couldn't put to work on events, but they could come and knock down some walls. We had people doing painting. We had people rallying together to say, all right, you know what, we're not going to look at what we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to look at what we're doing for the next 5 years, 10 years. How are we going to build something that's really special from the ashes that were a complete slash to our business? We lost over 70% of our revenue in 1 year when you look at where we were. And I'm proud to say that this year we'll do more than 20% over what we did in our best year ever pre-pandemic. Thank you. But I share that all with you because it is a result of the focus on our team. And we were able to do that for two reasons. One, because we had a team that was willing to fight. A team that wasn't willing to just say, I'm ready to quit, this is too hard. We had team members that said, I love this company, I love the people I work with, and I want to forge ahead. You see, the culture conversation to me has resorted too much toward perks and benefits. And while that's part of culture, for us at Footers, culture is about much more than that. Culture is about, do you come to work doing something that you love to do, that you're passionate about, and that you are great at? You're world class. We all have something that we're world class at. And when we're spending 80, 90% of our time doing that, we get more fulfillment in what we do. The other piece of that is, are you doing it with people that you love and trust and respect? When we come to work with people that fill us up and don't drain our tank, that's a different dynamic. And the third piece is there purpose in what we're doing? And so when we talk about culture, when all three of those things come together, we have people that absolutely love being here and are living our mission statement of loving what we do. We're making it better every day, and we're creating those exceptional experiences for our clients and their guests. The other piece of that is, how do you make sure you're creating a financially sound business that can survive and weather the storm? We were in a very fortunate position. I watched my father run a business that was a lot of ups and downs, and there were moments where it was like, are we going to really make payroll? And I think every entrepreneur, every business owner will face that at some point in time. But that also is the spark to, how do you run a business that all of a sudden is financially stable and can withstand anything that's thrown at it? We've been so fortunate to get a good reputation on a national level for what we've done with culture, that we actually started another company called MIBE. MIBE is the acronym for Make It Better Every Day. And that, as I said before, is the middle part of our mission statement. Our team actually came up with that acronym. And one day I walked into the kitchen and somebody's like, oh, did you see the MIBE that Jason did the other day? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He made it better. He did this. And so now if you walk through our halls, you'll hear people saying, oh, that's a good MIBE. And oh, you MIBE'd that. And so we started a sister company, and as an homage to that, we named it MIBE. And MIBE focuses on intentional culture building and education around heart leadership for the hospitality industry. These concepts apply to all industries, but we have such a soft spot for what the hospitality industry has done, and we are not historically known as an industry that has treated our people really well. And we're on a mission to shift that narrative. And there's 4 things that, if I can, I want to share with you about what we've done in terms of culture and the convictions that MIBE is built on. The first one is lead, and it's value people for more than the job they do. You see, I don't think when I come to work, I open that door and all of a sudden professional Anthony stays behind personal Anthony stays behind and professional Anthony comes in. That doesn't happen, right? If my life at home is in shambles, it's probably going to impact how I show up at work. And if work is really not going well, it's probably going to end up at home when I come home and back up that dump truck on my family and the people I love the most to tell them how horrible my day was, right? And so we have this philosophy that we want to invite the full person to come to work. When they come to Footers, there's going to be days where they're not going to be up at their best. And it's not about slacking off or giving people, letting them off the hook. We still have a job to do and we still have to get work done, but let's figure out how we be flexible with that. We have one-to-ones with our employees. I'm not big on annual performance reviews. I don't think that's really an effective way to measure somebody's performance. So we talk about monthly one-to-ones where each employee meets with their direct report and gets a chance to really connect with them. And I'll never forget when I was having a specific one-to-one with one of our team members, Carrie. And Carrie had just come back from maternity leave. And in our one-to-one, she informed me that her husband had just been diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma. So you can imagine, Carrie's mind was probably elsewhere at that point. And at the time, I had no idea what even to say, what to do, how to even handle that situation. And I just said, Carrie, what do you need from us? How can we help you? And she had thought about this, and she said, you know what? I don't want to leave work. This is my family. This is my distraction. This is where I want to be. That I need to be here. But I just want to make sure that I have the flexibility to go to every single one of his doctor appointments and his chemo appointments and everything he's going to need. And I said, yeah, we can do that. And this was pre-pandemic when everybody was comfortable working from home and remotely, right? Like this was like, okay, we can work around this. We can figure this out. And I didn't realize that this was for me, this was just a standard thing that we should do. And it was a moment at the end of his chemo, and thank goodness he is healthy, and they have a second baby now, and it's a happy ending to the story. But towards the end of his treatment, the nurses at the hospital said, "You must be a stay-at-home mom and take care of the kids." And she said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, we've never had somebody that works full-time that has been able to come to every appointment." And she said, "Well, no, my job gives me that flexibility." And they're like, "Where do you work? Like, tell me more about this." And I never in my wildest dreams thought that would be an anomaly. And it was a sad thing to think that like most companies don't do that for their team members. Most companies don't respond to the needs of their team. And so when we think about valuing people for more than the job they do, it's understanding that at times we need to respond to some of those things. And you know what happened? There were days Carrie couldn't get all of her work done, but everybody else here rallied around to pick up the slack for her. And you know what happened? A year later, when she came back and somebody else had an issue, she was the first one to jump in and go help them out. And so while it looks like in the micro that productivity slipped, productivity actually went through the roof because everybody started working closer together. Second conviction is love. Love. Open yourself to be authentic, genuine, and vulnerable. Open yourself to be authentic, genuine, and vulnerable. See, I don't think vulnerability is come to work and tell everyone your deepest, darkest secrets. I think vulnerability is about coming to work and admitting that maybe you don't have all the answers. Leadership, we put it on a pedestal, and we put people up here that they have to know it all, and you have to have all the answers and tell everyone what to do. And I think the reverse, that the pandemic was a perfect example for us where our leadership came together. And there were days that I was in rough shape. I was in shambles being able to come to work and say, like, I don't know what to do. I'm at the end of my rope. And that's when my executive team was the ones that picked me up. And there were days that they struggled and we rallied around them. But it's so cool when you create an environment where people come to work and feel comfortable in their skin and who they are, that they can actually be honest about what they need from you. See, we have this stigma that we have to perform and we always have to be at a high level, and I think that's critical. But if we're too proud to ask for help or too proud to admit where our faults are, then I think we're selling ourselves short and we're not creating an environment where people can do that. I think you're missing an opportunity. Third one is MIBE. There's always more to learn and room to improve. See, I believe we're always on a journey chasing something, and there's never a destination that we actually get to. Because if we get to a destination, then all of a sudden we stop. And we become stagnant because we've reached our goal. We've reached where we wanted to go. And so we like to think about it in terms of, what if we just focus on getting a little bit better every single day? The whole spirit of MIBE. We're not chasing something down the road. We just want to keep getting better. And if we keep getting better every single day, and you do that 365 days a year, you're going to be at a really impressive spot at the end of the year, right? I look back, and I tell this story that are you embarrassed of who you were a year ago? Are you embarrassed of who you were 5 years ago? If you can say yes, then you are doing a great job of pushing yourself and growing. I look at some of the events we used to do and I'm like, oh gosh, I can't believe we used to do the events like that. I look at some of the presentations I used to do and I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to do that. Like, we have to keep pushing to get better and better and better. And if we do that and don't think about these as wholesale changes, too many people, they come and say, oh yeah, I got to change this, I got to get in shape. And all of a sudden overnight they think, oh, I'm just going to work out and get in shape and have a whole new life. No, it doesn't happen like that. It happens slow improvements over time. Final is vibe. Work doesn't have to suck. Surround yourself with a kick-ass team. When we think about this, there's a lot of people that say, Anthony, I don't have firing responsibilities. I don't, make decisions on who we hire here. And I like to push back on that a lot. If you do have hiring and firing responsibility, then yes, you do have a little bit more control. But every single person in an organization has a responsibility to help uphold what the culture is in that organization. See, we're always going down a path of either building a culture that is by design or you have a culture by default. Every organization has a culture. And so if we're building a culture by design and you've got people on the team that aren't a good fit, it's every single person's responsibility to say something about it and bring that attention to somebody who can do something about it. Because the longer we let those people sit in our organization, it's the bad apple that poisons the bunch, and they'll hold back your culture. I have a matrix that I do, and it's a performance culture matrix. Very simple. You just put performance on one axis, cultural fit on the other axis, and you can just think about somebody on your team and you can rate them 1 through 10. 1, they're terrible at their job. 10, they're awesome at their job, right? You give them a number, and then 1, they're awful cultural fit. 10, they're a great cultural fit, right? And so you give them a number there, and then you plot them on this graph. And so we have these 4 quadrants, and you have your quadrant down here, which is your low performer, low cultural fit. And we don't see those people in many organizations because they're not very good at their job, and so it's very easy to what we call career development elsewhere, CDE, like it's time for you to move on. It's easy to fire them. They're not doing well at their job. You have in the quadrant of great cultural fit, but struggling at their job. And a lot of people say those people have to go. They're not good at their job. We need to get them out of the organization. And I disagree here. I think those are people that if they are a fantastic cultural fit, how do you reallocate where they should be in your organization? And it's not about making up positions just for people to have that don't serve the company. It's about thinking about people's responsibilities. And so if I hire somebody, let's say I hire a chef, right? And that chef, his 3 main responsibilities are A, B, and C. And he is brilliant at A, and he is fantastic at B, and he is terrible at C. What do you think I'm going to spend most of my time talking to him about? Probably C, because that's what we're struggling with. So we're going to keep coming back. Hey, you're struggling with C. Hey, C didn't get done. Hey, why is C messed up again? I'm going to keep harping on C. That's deflating for somebody who's striving and thriving at 2 areas of his job. What if we took C and said, you know what? I think it belongs over here, and this person has the skill set to do that better. And maybe we bring D that no one's doing right now. I think we put that on your plate because you're going to thrive with that. I think being nimble with how you allocate what people do in an organization can give you an incredible advantage over competitors. And then there's a reverse. A lot of people say, oh, Anthony, you have to have set job descriptions. You have to have set positions that people do. How can you ever hire for somebody? Well, I don't believe that there's 2 people that are alike. So why don't we find the great people that we can bring into our organization, figure out where they can add the most value, and then let them go with it. Up here we have our white dots that we call our unicorns. They're high performers, high cultural fit. They're amazing. We want to clone them. We want more of them. We want to duplicate them. Just let's have a lot more of those. The biggest issue in any organization is what we call our red dots. These are our high performers, low culture. They exist in every single organization. They are really, really great at their job. And they are so great at their job that they make sure to tell everyone how great they are at their job. This company wouldn't be where it's at without me. I'm the one that did this. This wouldn't have happened if it weren't for me. I brought in the most sales this month. I did this. I did that. And then we start to believe it. And we say, oh, we could never replace Sally. Sally's amazing. She's so good. How could we ever find somebody that could do what she does? And I don't know. We just have to put up with Sally. And the thing is, a lot of these people, they're not all jerks, right? They're pretty charismatic people because a lot of times what they're doing is they're eroding the fabric of your culture by coming over here and saying, did you see what Carlos did the other day? He screwed that up. He screwed that up for me. I know he screwed it up for you. And then I come over to Carlos and I'm like, see what Josh did the other day? Josh screwed my event up. And then I'm over here and behind the scenes, it's this weaving of just propping themselves up. But it's sucking the life out of your company, and we put up with the red dots for way too long in our organizations. And every time, I've never fired somebody too soon. I just, full disclosure there. But every time I've let a red dot go, we found somebody that was even better to replace them. And so that narrative that we tell ourselves we could never replace that person, it's not necessarily true. I want to just leave you with this idea that when we think about what we've done here at Footers, we've been successful in business. But I'm much more proud of the impact that we've had on the lives of the people that work within our company. I think every single person in this room has the ability to have a tremendous impact on the people in your lives. You may not think you're a leader. You may not think you're in a leadership position. Those of you that are leaders in leadership positions, there's people watching you that you don't even know. Your family, your community. People are paying attention to who you are and what you're doing. And success at all levels does not have to come at the expense of people. We understand what can be built by creating a great place to work, creating a culture where people can thrive, and investing people by leading with our hearts. And we're on a mission to help other companies find that so that their teams and they can find more joy and fulfillment, not only in their work, but also in their lives. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's now my pleasure to introduce one of the two people that you really came to see here tonight. Jeff Cisneros owns 7 different companies under the Sparta Brands empire. He is an absolute badass. And the thing, he's not only had success with his companies, but the thing that has really inspired me about Jeff is his commitment to giving back, commitment to community, and really being invested in helping other people. So it's my pleasure to now introduce Jeff Cisneros.
Check, check. Can you hear me? Good evening, everybody. I feel so overwhelmed to have you in here. I feel so blessed to be able to be here tonight, to be alive, to be able to share my story and my passions for what I do. Many of you know I have everything from in here, from childhood friends to people from the fight community to people that have really impacted and changed my life. You know, I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and I would say we grew up in less than fortunate circumstances. I had a hardworking father, a hardworking mother, and the thing looking back now, my mom was very entrepreneurial minded as well. She didn't have an education, but she was a hard worker. My dad was a warehouse man for King Soopers, and my mom so desperately wanted to start her own business. Unfortunately for her, when I was about 7 years old, she got sick and she was diagnosed with a brain tumor the size of a silver dollar that was on the left side of her brain. And she had a 50-50 chance of surviving this surgery. And she did pull through it. And many years later, though, what I always like to share is the woman I knew then died and a new woman awoke, not to any of her own doing it all. But she really instilled something in me that if you want something, if you want it really bad enough, you go out there and get it. No matter the cost, no matter the sacrifice, hard work will get you there. And, looking back on my journey from the time I was in elementary school, I was fascinated with people that owned businesses. Driving by and seeing the local baseball card shop in 5th grade, I would go in there every day and I would pester this man to give me an opportunity to hustle his cards at school. And he was just like, kid, you are a pain in the ass, but I'm going to give you an opportunity. And that's all I really needed. I needed that opportunity, and so I started hustling and selling baseball cards in 5th grade. And then I got an idea that I was going to start selling pop and candy to all the kids, and that was frowned upon, by principal and the school district. So I was ahead of my time. We'll say that. But I'd always had this drive and this passion, and I always believed that anything was possible. I believed that my wildest dreams could become true. I've got a great childhood friend here today, Jeremy Sterling. I love you so much, brother. He's been one of my biggest supporters, and he knows from the time we were very young, I believed anything was possible. I believed anything was possible. So as we were coming through high school, I started to venture into entrepreneurship. One of my brilliant and game ideas is that I started Uber Eats before it was Uber Eats. And I talked to my friends and said, hey, let's offer fast food delivery for $5. And we'll do it every Friday and Saturday night. And we were crushing it. We were killing it. But, my friends were more interested in parties and girls. And so that kind of flopped. And it led me down to my next passion. I had gotten into fitness and working out and in bodybuilding. And so I started a sports supplement company when I was 17 years old. And literally, I was an original trunk hustler. I would pull up to the gyms, I would pop the trunk, and I would sell muscle milk, protein powder, protein bars. I would go into the gym, I would talk to people, they would come out, and I would sell them these supplements. And I was just so obsessed with it. I got that taste of it. I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I didn't have very much money, but I was happy. I really felt like this was going to be the big thing. And so we were working really hard, and I grew that business. I started it with $100, and over a period of 3 years, we were doing at times over $120,000 a month online. And I had a little staff of people, and we were delivering supplements, and we were knocking on doors. Being young and in my 20s, I thought, this is it. This is it. I'm going to turn this into a multi-million-dollar business, and I'm going to retire by the time I'm 28 years old, and I'm going to own a Lamborghini and a yacht, and I'm going to retire all my friends. Then I was hit really hard in the face with reality. In June of, I think it was probably like June of 2001, I was running out of money because I had started the company with just $100. I got $500. I bought $500 worth of supplements, $500 to $1,000. When the time we were selling $90,000 to $120,000 in supplements, I had credit out the wazoo. I was extended everywhere. And I came to a very difficult decision. I was delivering supplements to the Westminster Police Department at the time, and I was talking to a police officer, and he said, hey, do you have any investment opportunities? And so I was like, well, this is awesome. We were days away from going out of business, literally days away from going out of business. And I met them up at this restaurant in Westminster. I think, was it Applebee's, Don? Black Eyed Pea. And so they were on the SCAT team, like an undercover team. And so I met this gentleman, Chris, and I prepared this amazing proposal, and I was so passionate about it. And I left that meeting thinking, man, I really crushed it. I really crushed it. And he had a friend with him that was working that night who didn't say much, but was just kind of evaluating the situation. The next day, I was so excited to hear from Chris, and my phone rang, and I picked up the phone, and Chris was like, hey, Jeff, I talked about it with my wife, and I'm sorry, I just don't think it's for us. I was devastated. I literally went to the gym and had told myself, I'm going to have to call everybody that works for me and tell them that they don't have a job anymore. My dream is over. My dream is crushed. And I got back from the gym, and I had a message, and I opened it, and this message said, hey, Jeff, this is Don. I hope you don't mind. I got your number from Chris. I was at yesterday's dinner meeting, and you know what? I was really intrigued. I wonder if you could come over and talk to my wife and myself about that opportunity. So I called him. I said, what's your address? I went up to his house, and again, I gave it to him with everything in my heart, all the passion in the world that you can imagine. And this time, to be honest with you, I was a little bit unsure. I wasn't really positive that I sold him on it. And so I go home, a couple days go by, and I'm like literally putting off letting my people go. And I see he's calling, and I pick up the phone, and he says, hey, Jeff, this is Don. Hey, man, we're in. And I was just like, oh, my God. And after it settled in, I was just like, this man doesn't even know me. I got to ask him why he invested in me. Why did he invest in me? I want to give him a round of applause because 20 years later, we're still close and we're friends, and he's sitting right here. Don, raise your hand. When I asked him, Don, why did you do it? Why did you invest in me? You didn't know me. And he said, being in law enforcement for as long as I have, I've prided myself on judging character. And you know what, Jeff? I just believed the horse that I was betting on, and I would have did it 1,000 times over. And it worked out for multiple reasons. Financially, got me over the hump, got us to where we were going. And more importantly, I gained a brother in the process. But that's why I tell people I wanted to host something like this, because you never know who you're talking to. You don't know who could be ignited by that passion and that fire that you have inside you. It makes you so excited to be around. It excites me. It excites them. They don't even know. He probably didn't even know what the hell he was buying into and the chaos I was bringing, but he loved my passion. Right, Don? You know, he really loved my passion. And so, you know, we went on for a little bit longer in that business, and you know, I continue to venture through the ups and downs, the roller coaster of it. And then I'll never forget, in June of 2006, we were headed towards the economic collapse. You know, the housing market was crashing. One of the first things to go is luxury items, right? When gas is $4 a gallon and everything starts to crash, people aren't going to want to pay the $40 for protein, the $50 for pre-workout, you know, anything like that. And so, you know, I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what to do again. I was just in this moment of like, I've got to come up with something. I've got to innovate something else. I have to do something else. And I had a friend, Jason, at the time, and we were sitting at a coffee shop, and he was just like, hey, man, what are you going to do next? And I was like, you know what? I want to start a combat sports promotion. Because I was an ex-boxer, I loved boxing, but I didn't feel like boxing really had the relevancy here locally. It was big globally, but here, nobody really wanted it. MMA was the hot ticket. So I told him, I'm gonna start this MMA promotion called Sparta Combat League, and I am going to, you know, I'm gonna go back, refocus on the supplement company, and I'm gonna build my own supplement company called Spartan Labs instead of wholesaling everybody else's stuff. So he was just like, man, that's, you know, it sounds like a lot of work. And anybody that knows me knows I'm relentless. I'm all gas and no brakes. When I put my sights and focus on something, I go for it. And I'm still in my point in my life where I'm trying to find balance, a cross between balance and obsessiveness, because I'm exceptionally, like just extremely obsessive when I have a goal in my mind. And so Sparta Combat League was born in November of 2009. This was taking me down a path that I had no clue that I was going to venture down. I had $500 in my pocket. We had $500 in our pocket, and the permit for the state was $600. So how I got that extra $100 is I literally went dumpster diving when people were sleeping, and I collected cans because aluminum was going for a pretty decent amount at that time. So I got myself the extra $100. We had the $600. I went and got my first permit. And I started talking, and we were going through the motions, and we did a show, and we made, at the time, what I thought was decent amount of money. So I thought every show is like this. The serial optimist in me is just like, how could I fail? I can't fail. Like, I'm going to win at everything that I do. Well, the next event we did, me and Carlos were talking about this yesterday. I had invited him. He comes to the Grizzly Roads. We had 200 people there, and I had comped 180 tickets. We left the building with $17 in our name. And I went back to our hotel, back to our apartment, and we ordered stuffed crust pizza because that makes everything better with our last $17. But you know, the thing about it for me is I just believed in my heart with everything that I had that this was going to turn and this was going to be successful no matter what. I was not a stranger, and I wasn't scared of hard work. My whole life has been about hard work, and so I knew that we could turn it. And so in late 2010, we started to turn it, and we started to grow it. And we went from doing 3 shows a year to 8 shows a year to 10 shows a year to 12 shows a year. And then the moment of truth. I wanted to take the next step and the next risk. I wanted to do Budweiser Event Center in Loveland, Colorado that holds 5,500 people. And everybody looked at me like I'm insane. You're not a big time promotion. You can't do it. It'll never work. And I said, no, you're wrong. We're going to do it, and we're going to smash it. We did that event, and we sold 3,800 seats that first time up there on Budweiser Event Center. And I remember thinking I was kind of disappointed because I really thought I could get the whole 5,400. And so it was our biggest financial gain at the time. We had the most money we'd ever made. And so, you know, of course, I'm the type of person that can't be content. And I'm not driven by money. I'm driven by legacy. As cliche as that sounds, I'm showing my daughters that their dreams are possible, that anything's possible. The kids that grew up with me, they saw how we grew up. Anything is possible. So this is April. So you fast forward, and we're now in September of 2013. And I'm building the biggest fight card in Colorado history. I have all the names, guys that went on to go into UFC, and we are crushing it, and we are killing it. 1 week to go, and the weather report comes out that we're expecting catastrophic floods. Catastrophic floods. And I'm like, no, it's going to be good. It's going to get there. We get to the night before weigh-ins, and it shows that it's going to flood in a terrible way. I was now at a crossroads. Do I cancel this event? I've flown everybody in. All my money was on the line. To be honest with you, I was betting and playing with money I didn't have. And as dangerous as that is, sometimes you have to do that to get to that next level. So we made a decision. We canceled the event. But the heart in me knew that these fighters had counted on being paid. I went to each one of them, and I paid every pro fighter their show purse. And I said, will you do me a favor? Will you please come back in 2 weeks, and we'll have this September 27th. And these guys told me, yeah, no problem. We're going to do it. So the next 2 weeks, I was receiving phone call after phone call. They were pulling out. They didn't want to do it. I'd already paid them. So I was forced to do the event anyway. And of course, it rained that night. And I'll never forget the moment. I was looking around the crowd, 900 people maybe. I had everything on the line. We lost $30,000 that night. And I didn't have $30,000. So basically, this is where you call creative financing, right? What can I sell? What can I hawk? What can I do? And, so we went home, and at the time, my ex-wife now, we drove home in complete silence. And I remember going in the basement and just like losing it. I felt like a failure. I punched a hole in the wall. I cried. I thought I let my family down. I thought, this is it. This is the ultimate failure. There's no coming back from this. And she literally came down. Those of you that know her, she came down to me and she said, look, you could either sack up or feel sorry for yourself. And I was just like, you know what? You're right. And I got up again, and we went back, and it took us about 4 to 6 months to go ahead and to get it over the hump and get it back to where it needed to be. But we got back on the tracks. My purpose of sharing so much more failures, I have a lot more failures than most of your average entrepreneurs. And the reason that is because I swing for the fences. I believe in go big or don't go at all. I don't know how to do anything, and I won't do anything that doesn't light my soul on fire, because life is too short. How many times have we clung to a job or a relationship that we knew wasn't serving us, but we did it anyway because it felt safe and comfortable, even though we were dying inside? How many people have felt that way before? Hands up in the air. I have, time and time again, right? I have. And so in 2014, things really started to turn. We were getting the attention of the national audience, of TV broadcast centers, NBC Sports Network, Altitude Sports Network, and we were really moving in the direction. And everybody would be, why can't you just be content? Why can't you just let it be what it is? Because that's not in my blood. That's not who I am. I want to pursue greatness. I want to do something that nobody else has ever done. I want to be innovative. I want to do things that nobody's ever done. Hey, if I fail at it, that's okay. I have failed at more things than most people would ever even dream of attempting. So my next big idea hits me. I want to create a combat sports tournament, and I want to call it King of Sparta. But I want to put a ring next to a cage, and I want 8 fighters to compete in this tournament. Quarterfinals is boxing, semifinals is kickboxing, and the championship is MMA. We're going to bring kickboxing fans, MMA fans, and we're going to bring all combat sports fans into this tournament. I got it copyrighted with an attorney. I was so excited. I go to the commissioner. Nope. Scratches off, says it's too many fights. Tells me no. So I'm like, all right, a pivot. We're going to have to just do kickboxing and MMA and no tournament. And so that year in 2014, we did Budweiser Event Center again. And I'll never forget the moment. I walked out about the 3rd fight, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, holy shit, we did it. We sold out Budweiser Event Center, 6,000 seats, completely packed. And the fans going nuts and crazy. At the end of the night, everybody wanted to celebrate. I was like, no, we're going to do Pepsi Center next. Pepsi Center, and I'm going to get my tournament approved by the commission. You mark my words. And a lot of you know in many entrepreneurial journeys, you're just heading full speed, 200 miles an hour in a car with no brakes, and you're not thinking about anything else. One day I get a call, and it's one of our sponsors. He says, hey, Jeff, can you come in and talk to me real quick? And I'm like, oh, man, this guy's going to fire us. This guy's going to fire us right now. And so I go to his office, and he's like, I got a question for you. I was like, yes, sir. He's like, who's making your video content? I said, we are. And he said, really? He said, are you doing the Spanish and English? I was like, yes, sir. He said, can you do that for me? And I was like, what do you mean do that for you? He said, well, I want to do that in automotive. I want to bring that flashbang in automotive. I don't want these boring commercials anymore. I want that flashbang. And so without even thinking about it, right, the entrepreneur in me is like, oh, yeah, we have a media company. It's called Sparta Media Group. What's your budget? So he tells me his budget, and I'm like, keep a cool face, walk out, get in my car. I'm like, oh, my God, we're in the wrong business. I'm driving home. I pull over, I have an epiphany. I'm like, oh, my God, we have a digital media company. We owned all of our own cameras, all the own lighting, our screen printers, the embroidery. We owned everything because we wanted to make it more convenient for ourselves to not have to count on vendors. And the whole time I didn't realize it was right in front of my face. We are sitting here, and we are building this business that was going to be huge, and we didn't even know it. So we start doing this account for him. And about a month later, a friend of mine introduces me to another guy in automotive. He's like, hey, are you doing their videos? And I was like, yeah, we are. And he's like, kind of smirks. He's like, you know who that is, right? And I was like, oh, we say his name. Ended up being part of a large automotive empire. So I emailed him, and I was like, hey, I heard you're part of a larger automotive group. We would love to be a part of it. He wrote me back. He's like, Jeff, can I just tell you something? I'm a huge fan of the fights. I love coming to the fights, and I love your passion for it. But I don't think you have any idea what you're sitting on in this digital media marketing company. I would love to put you in front of the other group. He made one call, set us up in meetings, and literally this is what they call catching lightning in a bottle. We were in some of the largest and biggest automotive groups in the country. Can't you just be content again, is what I'm hearing. Isn't this enough for you? It's not enough for me because I can improve it, we can make it better, and we can do it. This is October of 2017. Then literally 2 weeks later, the boxing commissioner calls me. He's like, Jeff, I know you're doing Pepsi Center June 30th, 2018. I'm going to approve your tournament. We got the tournament approved. We went into Pepsi Center. We sold 9,000 tickets strong. And we had the tournament, the first tournament of its kind that led to doing more tournaments and more. See, my personality is a lot like many of you that are entrepreneurs out here now. No, once you reach success, that's not it. Rent is due every single day. You can't sit on it. There's somebody working really hard to take it away from you. Time went on, and it was, and we were going through everything. Sometimes you have to stop and just realize and take it in, like, look at what you're building, be proud of yourself. And so one business led to the next, So now, we're coming into 2020. I want to share a story with you guys. It's very important to me. My sister has always been my greatest role model in life. She's my hero. She's a cancer survivor. Many times she had to be mom and do things that just were not fair for a child to have to do in order to make sure that I had what I needed. So when we were really young, she had a dream car. And it was a 1968 Camaro, but she wanted it to be purple. So when I was 16 years old, I started telling myself, I'm going to buy my sister this car. I'm going to buy my sister this car. I kept telling it, never went away, never went away. On the video monitors, you'll see for her 50th birthday, I made the plan. And I invited her to the garage, and I told her, we owned an automotive customization company, Sparta Auto 360. And I said, come look at this client's car. And she's like, oh my God, I love it. And I wrote her a letter telling her that she was my hero. She's very successful, but she would never have done this for herself. And that was probably one of the most gratifying, rewarding moments in my entire life, to be able to buy my sister her dream car. It made everything worth it. All the sacrifice she went through, all the hard times, everything that she did for me, I knew she would never do it for herself. And so I bought her dream car, and it was just a very powerful moment, because I had that car on my vision board for probably 14 years. But I never lost faith that I was going to do it for her. Never lost faith with it. That's where I tell people, manifesting and writing down your goals is one of the most important things that you could possibly do. How many people remember Westminster Mall? When I was probably about 9 years old, me and a friend were coming out of the arcade, and there in front of us was a brand new Lamborghini Countach. We stood there with awe, looking at it, being like, oh my God, this car, this older gentleman, calling him old now, he's probably my age now. And he comes out and he's like, do you want to sit in this? And I was like, are you kidding me? I would love to sit in this car, me and my friend said. So he opens it up, we go and we sit in it, and I was like, sir, what do you do? I got to know what you do. He said, young man, I'm an entrepreneur and a dream chaser. I said, I'm going to own a business one day, and I'm going to have a new Lamborghini. And it took 35 years, the Lamborghini that's sitting out there. I want to talk about the power of manifesting. Literally, as this was happening, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. One day I'm driving up my road, and I see a Lamborghini trailer, and one of my neighbors up the road was getting a supercar delivered. But it was Lamborghini that I wanted. And I started thinking about it more and more and more. And I went home, and then I went to my loft, and I seen another Lamborghini there. And then on Monday, a friend of mine texted me and said, hey, Jeff, you never believe what just showed up in the dealership. Somebody backed out of this, and they had ordered it. Got a brand new Lamborghini Huracan. You should come look at it. And I was like, oh, my goodness. I just want to look at it, though. I'm just going to go down there and look at it. That's my toxic trait, anybody that knows me with cars. So I went down there, and I sat in it, and I was just like, oh, my God. Like, I can't believe this is happening. And the Lamborghini is not about status. I don't give a crap about that. It was a dream that I wanted to accomplish for me. It was my wildest dream as a child. I don't care about the other stuff. My friends like to give me shit because I wear $40 Skechers, but I'll drive a Lamborghini, okay? But it didn't really hit me full circle until I'm at the park one day with my daughters, and this young boy comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, you're the one with the cars down there, right? You got the Lamborghini? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, what do you do? And I start telling him, and I'm like, holy smokes. Came full circle. And I was in my phone, and I looked at this picture. Jesse pops it up on B-roll right here. And where Westminster Mall was now, they've built these high-end apartments and lofts in there. And I had my car parked right there, and I was just like, oh my God, it does come true. And I think it's important to share that story because I grew up poor. We didn't have anything. Whoever has a Lamborghini, you have no business. You'll never own something like that. You'll never have a big house. You'll never have this. You should hear my daughters talk about themselves because they're around it all the time. My 8-year-old daughter, Melania, she says, Daddy, when I win an Olympic gold medalist, when I'm an Olympic gold medalist, when I win the Olympics, it's not like, geez, I sure hope I do. She's disciplined, she's dedicated, but it's that power of doing it. My oldest daughter, I'm like, babe, what do you want to do when you get older? Daddy, I want to own a professional sports team. I was like, really? She said, yeah, you're showing us that all our dreams are possible and anything is possible with hard work and determination. And, it makes me emotional because being a father is the greatest gift of my life, as many parents in here can probably share. I didn't want to be a dad, to be honest with you, because of the way that I grew up. I was probably about 28 years old, and I'm at a grocery store. This little boy in front of me asks his mom for a candy bar, and his mom says, "Mom, can I have a candy bar?" And the mom says, "No, we can't afford that. We can't afford that." And it just made me think of the times when we grew up. And so I bought the candy for him, and I followed him out to the parking lot. I was like, "Excuse me, I think you forgot this in here." And the little boy smiled. He got so excited, and I went to walk away, and he's like, Mister. And I stopped, and I turned around. He's like, "Do you work for Santa Claus?" And I sat in my car, and I was just like, oh my God, I have to have that. I have to experience that. I have to have that, and I have to experience that in my life, right? It was just the most amazing experience of my life ever, is being a father and showing them that anything's possible. What I've learned in this journey that we have life, whether you're here, the difference between being broke, the millionaire, and the billionaire is strictly, ladies and gentlemen, it's mindset. It is mindset, and it is what you believe, and it's what you are willing to do and when you are willing to sacrifice. I sold my house to keep going in my dreams. People tell me, "You're crazy. I would never do that." I don't need explanation. I know I'm crazy. I know what I'm after. But it takes extreme sacrifice like that to be able to get to those next levels, to get into the rooms, to meet the people, like Carlos, who's coming up next. Great role model, successful entrepreneur, and always taking the time to help the next person up. From the outside looking in, sometimes it's a completely different story. People would have looked and been like, "Man, you have a beautiful family, you're wealthy, you have successful businesses, and all these things." But to be honest with you, I wasn't happy. I was feeling unfulfilled. And they say success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. What was wrong with me? I was in a relationship that wasn't serving her, and it wasn't serving me anymore. But you know what? I cling to it because it was the only thing that I had that was familiar to me, which is crazy for me because I'm constantly chasing stuff and constantly doing things that light my soul on fire. One of our big arguments once was I had started a company behind her back, which is not the right thing to do, gentlemen. If you want to be married, don't do that. Sparta Auto 360. And I had this brilliant idea that I could take the videos. We can now wrap cars, lift cars. We could do all this cool stuff with it. The wrap truck that you see out there was done by Sparta Auto 360, in which I no longer own. And I want to share a little bit of this gentleman's story. I met this guy a few years ago, and he came to Sparta Media Group as a client of our digital media company. We just hit it off. We have very similar mindsets. We're very driven, determined. We like reading books. We like growing. We like learning together. And he was a GM in the automotive industry for a very long time, and he got burnt out. He wanted to do something different. So we had this idea for him to come to Sparta and help, and I realized very quickly that this man wanted to be an entrepreneur on his own, and I wanted to be able to support him. So one day I'm in Dallas on business, and I get a phone call, and he says, "I have an idea. I want to buy the shop." And I said, "Let me think about it." But deep down inside, I was like, thank God I could do something else now. Matt Maher walked away from a job after 20 plus years in the automotive industry. Matt, wave your hand. How happy are you now? He took that leap. And if you're thinking about doing something, thinking about pursuing a dream, you need to get out there and do it. You need to get there and do it because life is precious. Life is so precious. Which leads me in closing out and telling you a little bit about what happened to me. Everything's going great. Business is good. I feel like I'm working on my relationship. I'm working on balance in my life. And then life hit me. Bam. Had an accident. I suffered a brain injury. I split my head open. I stretched 3 cranial nerves, 2, 7, and 10. I had 3 TIAs, 3 mini strokes, which led to also an unruptured brain aneurysm. I had drop foot syndrome. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, I was dragging my foot around like this. I lost a huge amount of my memory. My cognitive skills were impacted. I felt useless. I felt like I couldn't go on anymore. I was fighting every single day just to get up, just to get it bad, being in the hospital, in the hospital, out of the hospital, going through neurological rehabilitation training. And I remember I had this, the first neurologist said, you just need to accept the fact that you are probably never going to walk straight again. I looked him dead in the eyes and I said, with all due respect, you don't know who the fuck I am. And I will walk again the right way. I got my stuff together. I found a new neurologist, and he was incredible. He got me on my path of my journey, an excruciating 8 months of a lot of ups and downs. I had lost my identity. Who was I? I knew I was creative, but I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to create. But I knew that I was resilient, and I could come back from everything and anything, and I didn't need a plan. I just needed to know that I could do this. And I've always been that person. I'm a Gemini. I don't need the plan. Just give me the damn opportunity, and I will go for it. I will run headfirst. For years, I was begging and pleading a friend to get me into real estate. He probably got tired of how many times I pestered him. How many times I call you about it, Jeremy? Yeah, more than he could. And I said, man, give me an opportunity. I want in. He calls me at 2:30 in the afternoon on a Friday and says, I got one for you, but I need $10,000 by 4 p.m., and it's all the way on the other side of town. I didn't even think about it. I just did it. I just went head first into it. And, we did it, and thankfully it worked out. But my point in that is that we don't always need a plan. Sometimes when we're waiting on a plan, it's going to expire. If you wait forever for the perfect timing, it is never going to be perfect timing. You just have to go for it. I get scared just like the rest of you, but I ultimately, at the end of the day, my saying is I get scared, but I take a big, tall glass of fuck it juice and I drink it and I go for it. And that's what I strongly recommend to anybody in this room thinking about pursuing dreams and passions. It's never too late. I have my brother in here tonight, and I hope he don't mind me sharing his story. He did 23 years in prison, his last 7 in basically solitary confinement, because he was into gangs, he was into drugs, and we had a very broken relationship, and he got out. It's been, I think, 10 years, and 2 years ago, he graduated from college. Rick? He made no excuses. He put in the work. He did the time. And now he's part owner in an electrical company. And I'm just very proud of him. But he's proof that, we all don't have to be 18. I started when I was much younger. I had nothing to lose. I was able to make a lot more risk that, other people can't make because they have families. They have families that they have to do. So in closing, I just want to say, if you're thinking about it, if you can't stop thinking about it, if it lights your soul on fire, do it. And if it doesn't, if it's not serving you anymore, it's okay to move on. It's okay to do and take a whole new path. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jeff Cisneros, and I want to say thank you for your time tonight.
Yes, sir. Tell me, are y'all not motivated? Come on now. Are y'all not motivated? Give it up again for Jeff Cisneros. Man, hey, that story was beautiful. Also, Anthony, appreciate you as well. Want to do a quick shout out to our sponsors, Breckenridge Distillery, Sparta Auto 360. We have Footers Catering. We have Social Capital and Sparta Media Group. Let's give it a hands for all of our sponsors that made all this possible today, because without you guys being here as well, we definitely appreciate the motive. Now, to tell you guys a little bit about myself, my name is Dre Lane. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm an entrepreneur. And unapologetically chasing my dream really means a lot to me, because literally you got to take that leap of faith. You got to literally jump off of the building and not worry about your trajectory of where you're going to land. You worry about that at the end. In between is really figuring out the X's and O's of what you're made of, is to really tell where your story is going to end up at. And that's really where my life has kind of led me today. About 15 years ago, I was working for a radon mitigation company, and I was a radon tech. I had absolutely nothing to do tech savvy with me. Me being at your house, working on your electrical, not a good idea at all, period. I'm not very savvy, not great with these hands in that aspect, but we installed radon mitigation systems, and with that job entailed, we had to seal crawl spaces, okay? And I don't know if you guys ever seen a crawl space where nobody has been in it in 20 years. Anybody? I didn't think so. Oh, we got a couple hands? Okay. Nightmares for life, okay? So, my why is my kids. You know what I'm saying? And that's a pretty big why, and I'm sure you guys can feel me across the board. That's big motivation to get you up and moving. But my first day by myself at this radon mitigation company was hell. I get to this house up in Boulder, okay, to make it worse, okay? I'm thinking it's going to be a nice day. It's my first day without my boss, you know what I'm saying? I'm my ass. Finally on my own, I'm feeling like a man. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm a tech. I'm a radon engineer. I didn't go to school for none of this shit. I had no business doing this shit. I'm going to be dead ass honest with you. I get to this house. I'm like, okay, we got a crawl space, dope. All right, cool. I get to this crawl space. Okay, keep in mind, y'all seen the movie Arachnophobia, right? And I'm black. There was no black people in that movie. I opened this latch. All there was cobwebs, and you could see the darkness in there. As soon as the light came in there, all you see was little critters flying out of the way, trying to fucking go hide back in dark corners. I called my boy. Hello, you reached Jamar. You motherfucker. Went to his damn answer. He cleared me. I called him again. Finally answered. He said, "What's up, man? I'm on the job. What are you doing?" I said, "Hey, man, I'm at the job too." And I didn't know it was going to be like this. This is crucial. There is spiders on top of spiders running around on top of spiders. And you want me to jump inside this room, this crawl space area with plastic glue. Okay? No Ghostbusters, no protection, nobody to help a brother out. That was one of the real moments of my life where I realized I was in the wrong business, period. Let alone, long story short, I got fired. It didn't take long. I think it was about 3 months. Now it was 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks. It was the longest 3 weeks of my life. One crawl space it took me 3 weeks, that one crawl space. Dead ass. Lost that job. When I lost that job, it was a blessing, because at that moment, I was like, it's time for me to do something completely different. And I've always, like I said, I'm a singer-songwriter. I've always been in the entertainment industry. And at that point, that's when I fully took that leap of faith to leap off and fly and change my trajectory of my life and fully indulge myself into music. I've always had one foot in, one foot out. But at that moment, I decided it was time for me to do something completely different. And a lot of time with what we're doing out here, we have to make that decision to really change the trajectory of our life and get in rooms like this where people are highly motivated and are unapologetically chasing their dreams. Give it up for Jeff Cisneros. Okay, big ups for creating this event. We appreciate you. If we can go ahead and have you guys all stand up, please, so we go ahead and sing the national anthem, if you guys don't mind. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave or the land of the free, and the home of the brave. Thank you very much. Not even gonna lie, that was a little hard after screaming at y'all, trying to go into comedy and singing. You know, say Jamie Foxx is the only man to do that effortlessly. But we got one more key speaker coming up. This is an amazing man. And before I bring him up, make sure you guys, before you guys leave, we have a step and repeat banner in the back. When you guys are mixing, mingling, make sure you guys take all your pictures back there. You know what I'm saying? It's a great backdrop. Unapologetically Chasing Dreams. This is the event that is going to change the trajectory of a life. This next keynote speaker coming up, this is an amazing man here. He's an e-commerce giant. He is a marketing mastermind. He was coached by Grant Cardone, Mr. 10 times himself. You know who that is. This is Mr. 0 to 1,000 multi-family homes in under 12 months. Get your hands together for Carlos Salguero. Let's go.
National anthem, and they were doing God Bless America, and they were doing the Pledge of Allegiance. And it reminded me of when I grew up. My dad and my mom made incredible sacrifices to put both my sister, my brother, and I in an American school in Ecuador. With money they didn't have. They were paying about $1,000 a month per kid to put us through this American school so that we could learn English and that we could be ready to fulfill my dad's ultimate dream, which was come to the United States. And every single Monday, we would come together in assembly and we would sing the national anthem of the United States of America, back in Ecuador, where I'm from. So I grew up believing that one day I could land in this country, and my dad always brainwashed us. You gotta go to the United States. You gotta live in the United States. The freedom, the opportunity, the chances that you'll have there will be so much greater than here. And it just humbles me to say that everything he said growing up became true. Because we believed. Because belief is the number one reason why people have success. Because you have to see it before it becomes. You have to see what's possible before you achieve. So when Jeff invited me to speak tonight, and he told me the title of the event, which is kind of hard to pronounce for me, because my second language is English, Unapologetically Chasing Dreams, right? And when you're thinking about dreams, most of us think that only kids dream. And when we grow up, we lose them. That we don't dream anymore, that we can't dream anymore. But the reality is that no matter how young or how old, you have to keep dreaming, because that's what keeps us alive inside. That's what keeps us wanting to not only do more, but to help the next person that is behind us. So tonight I'm going to share a little bit about my story. I'm going to try to go quick. And I know you guys have been here for a minute already. So the first thing I want to do, I want to make sure you guys stand up. Stand up for me real fast, okay? We're going to energize this room, and we're going to say some affirmations that I tell myself every single day. And that every person, I believe, should talk to themselves a little bit, right? Because how do you program your brain and your heart? With this instrument that we were given. So we're going to say the affirmations that I say every day. I am a leader. I am a mentor. I am successful. And I help the next person behind me. So I hope that tonight you came to believe that dreams can be achieved. That things that you think right now are impossible can be achieved. And the next thing I say is, I can. Say it. I can. I will. I am. Thank you, guys. You can sit down now. All right, and the next thing I do is I express my gratitude. And this is so key, guys, because when you are grateful, you don't have time to think about the negative stuff. And I think me coming from a third world country gives me a unique perspective of how things are in another place in the world. In a place where opportunity is scarce, where corruption is abundant, where, you know, the things that you see there, the poverty that you see there is either wealthy beyond your wildest dreams or poor. What you think is poor doesn't exist in this country. So with gratitude really comes this feeling of you being able to know and understand that what you have is enough, but that you can bring more into your life. So tonight I'm incredibly thankful, first of all, to God to give me this opportunity to be here, my family that joined me tonight, my wife Myra, my son Isaac, first responder Isaac, fireman Isaac, so proud of him, my beautiful twins, Caleb and Gabby, that joined me tonight. And this is really the first event that they see me on a stage speaking. They've seen me speak in other places, but tonight they're here, so it's so very special that I'm here. I want to thank Jeff for inviting me and the Sparta team. I want to thank Anthony from Social Capital for building this beautiful venue that we are going to use very often, Anthony. We're going to do big things here. And of course, I want to thank my friends, all of you guys that came tonight, that took the time to come tonight. Some of you guys even had birthdays, like Jenny Smith, and you're here tonight. So thanks so much for showing up. I want to thank my CS3 investments team. Some of them flew in to be here, which is a wild story, guys. My net direct distribution team, some of them are here tonight as well. And I would be nothing without the people that have trusted me, that have believed in me, that have believed in my vision to go build multiple companies over the years. And that's how it starts, guys, of how I started chasing my dreams. And I am a kid from Ecuador, South America. I came to the United States at 17 years old because of this dream that my dad had. And little did I know that over the years, and I'm going to go back to when I started, but over the years, I would be the founder of Net Direct Distribution that became a multi-million-dollar e-commerce and logistics company. I would become the top 1% seller of Amazon in the world of nutritional supplements. I would go and co-found Dr. Emil Nutrition, an 8-figure company that we built in 18 months. And in the middle of COVID, we exited for over $20 million. Never thought I could do that. This kid from Ecuador that had big dreams. And then, once that happened, we started CS3 Investments because I met Grant Cardone. Somebody dragged me into one of those events and told me, you gotta be there. And he gave me a huge dream beyond what I thought I could ever do. And then we've acquired over 1,000 units in the last 12 months of multifamily real estate, which has been incredible. And then following his blueprint, we say, you know what? We don't want to do this alone. We got to start teaching this. We got to start showing people how this is done. Because I know there's so many people that need this opportunity. And we founded Salguero Training Technologies, which had a different name 4 years ago when we started. And it was a company that was founded with my brother Ricardo in honor of my dad that passed away 4 years ago. So now it has transformed into a company that is on track to do $100 million in business by 2025. Training entrepreneurs how to become real estate professionals in multifamily real estate. That's the path we're following. So I'm going to share a little bit of my story. And who do I learn it from? I learned work ethic and discipline from my dad and my mom, my heroes. Two entrepreneurs that came from nothing, especially my dad. My dad was born in an incredibly small town in Ecuador that is only famous for the ice cream they sell there. It probably has 1,000 people now still. He never had a dad. He never had a mom. Raised by his grandma until 5 years old, and then his grandma passes, and then raised by his sister. And through adversity and through challenges, this man goes to the big city, teaches himself English, becomes a salesman, and starts his first business at 4 years old. Buys a printing press, starts a business. So I was very small. I was only 5 years old when he started this business, and I remember the smell of the printing press. I remember him being there 7 days a week, 365, and we were right there with him, and my mom supporting him 100%. So I lived through those years where I saw him fight through adversity. At 50 years old, he got cancer. He got lymphoma, stage 4 lymphoma. And I see this man that had built already a successful business go back to zero. Because back in those days, health insurance in Ecuador didn't exist. So he had to sell it all. He kept one machine. He already had 10 machines, sold everything so that he could get better. Come to Houston, MD Anderson in Houston, and fixed himself. And I could see this man not only going through the chemo and the radiation and all these things, but he also tried every holistic thing that you could think about, right? Went to the jungle of Ecuador so that they could beat him up with leaves and stuff like that. But he got better. And he started again. So I saw him start again from scratch. And 2 times in his life, he fought cancer successfully. And he lived a beautiful and successful life. And he passed at 84 years old. He showed me how to fight adversity. He showed me how to not be persuaded by challenges and give up. And then my mom, another story of success. Her and my dad, after we went to college, didn't get along. So she moves to the States and starts again from zero. With $100 in her pocket, she starts and meets a man on Yahoo Messenger. We were freaking out, as you could imagine. But this guy ended up being her soulmate. Larry Redinger, an ex-army vet that loved my mom till his last breath. And with him, they not only became my first employees. My mom was employee number 1. Larry was employee number 2. My beautiful wife Myra was employee number 3. And they built alongside with me our first business. And then 4 years after that, they went on and built a multi-million-dollar e-commerce business themselves. So proud of them. And for me, chasing the American dream was my dad's dream. Most people say, man, I cannot do stuff in the United States because I don't have a visa or I don't have papers. I had a student visa, then a work visa. It took me 20 years to become a U.S. citizen, guys. And I can't tell you how excited, how happy, how joyful I was to finally call myself an American citizen. Because it was a longing in my heart. And I think that I value it so much and I treasure it so much because it cost me so much. Because it took me 20 years to get there. So now, with that opportunity, what do, guys? We honor this country. The flag flies at our house every single day of the year. Even when Myra wants to take it down when the winds are crazy and hard, I'm like, no, leave it there, man. Leave it there. I like to see it. When I leave home, I like to see it there. When I come back, I like to see it there. Because it's a reminder every single day of what we have in this country. Freedom beyond belief. Opportunity beyond belief. Choices. And most importantly, the ability to help the next person with what we know. And when I started my first business, guys, I was in college already here in the United States. I came at 17, no friends, no family. First in my whole family that had come to the United States. My dad basically said, okay, son, It's time for you to go after high school. Kicked me out of the house, said, I'm going to pay for your first year semester, and then you have to figure it out. But Dad, how? You'll figure it out. So he pays my first year in college. And I was scrambling. I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And I started working for free. I started working for free for the college because they couldn't hire me. Legally, they couldn't hire me. Until about 6 months in, they figured out a way to pay me. They started paying me. And then remotely, I started a mountain biking magazine with my brother and my mom in Ecuador. That turned out to be so popular there. And it was literally a 4-pager, black and white 4-pager. We knocked on doors in the summers when we were back home to go try to get clients. And we built it into the biggest mountain biking magazine in South America from college here in the US. That paid for some of my college. And then I realized, man, I've been sitting on this idea all along. My dad owns a printing company. And guess what universities and colleges use a lot? They use printing materials. So because I had worked so long for the college for free, I knew the president, I knew the dean, I knew every single professor. I was very good friends with the staff and the faculty and everybody else. And I started pitching, guys. I started pitching a crazy idea. A crazy idea that was, what if I could sell this university all their printing materials made in Ecuador, and I could ship them, and that could pay for my college. And I told a couple of friends about this idea, and they told me, you're crazy, man. They're never going to buy from you. How? And I say, well, let me try. So I tried, and they say, look, you can get it done, you can get it printed, you can get it shipped. If we don't like it, we won't pay you. So I convinced my dad to give me credit terms because the man wouldn't do it for free for me. Hey, Dad, I have this deal. Would you give me some credit? He's like, yes, son, I'll give you some credit, but if they don't pay, you pay. I love that my dad was so hard on me, guys. But he was hard in a loving way. He pushed me to places where I felt uncomfortable. And he knew that if I wasn't comfortable, I would learn. I will grow. So that's how I pay my college, guys. For the next 3 years, I had a magazine running in Ecuador, and I had a printing business. So the college paid for my college. That's how it ended up being. And then I graduated, guys. I thought I needed a couple degrees, so I took a master's degree. And, I just didn't have any debt, so that was amazing. So when I graduated, I went knocking on doors, and I was an engineer, and I had also a business degree. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the Silicon Valley. I'm going to go try my luck in the Bay Area. And I find a job at HP, which didn't come easy, by the way. I went over there, and I said, hey, guys, are you guys hiring engineers? And they said, yeah, we're hiring engineers, but you need 5 years of experience to work here. And I'm like, I don't have experience. I just graduated. I was like, well, what else are you hiring? We're hiring interns. Oh, cool. How much you pay? Nothing. It's a free gig. Like, okay, when do I start? So I started working for Hewlett-Packard. For 6 months, I worked for free. I was first in, last out. And I guess they liked me because they hired me a few months later. And within 5 years, I became the youngest North America laser printing engineer in the company. Multi-billion-dollar company. But at that point, I felt like I had arrived. I was making 6 figures, $250,000 a year at HP as an engineer, as an engineering manager. I had the BMW M3. I had a great apartment. I was traveling the world, all the benefits. So I felt super comfortable, guys. I was like, man, this is it. But sometimes things don't go to plan, just like Jeff was talking about. And then you know what happened back in the early 2000s. Some of you guys probably don't remember this. You're too young. The dot-com bubble exploded in Silicon Valley. So many bankrupt startups in tech. But something even worse happened right after that. 9/11 happened. And then the world changed dramatically. Most of you guys remember where you were in 9/11. That's how crazy it was. Some of you guys were not born, but for the ones that we were alive and conscious, I remember where I was. You remember where you were. But then one of the hardest things I had to ever do in my life came about. I was given instructions from my boss. And he said, Carlos, I'm sorry I have to tell you this. And I thought he was going to tell me, you're fired. You're laid off. I hope that that was the case. And he said, you need to fire half of your team. I had 100 engineers in my group. And I asked, who do I fire? How do I pick? We don't care. Figure it out. And those were the worst 2 weeks of my life until then. Because I had to decide about other people's futures. Most of the engineers in that team were married, had families, had mortgages, had kids to support. They were 10, 20 years older than me. I was in my early 20s, guys. If anything, they should have fired me. So I told my boss like 3 times, how do I pick? He's like, Carlos, look, if you're not going to pick, I'm going to pick. And he ended up picking for me. And I had to sit in front of 50 people over a period of 2 weeks and tell them, you don't have a job anymore. You know what that did to me? It completely changed me inside. It reminded me. It reminded me of the dreams I had as a kid. Because I didn't have control over that situation. And this frustration, this anger, turned into commitment. Commitment to go start something that I could control, that I could build, that I could actually maneuver and change. And it reminded me of my original dreams when I was a kid, which was go to the US. I had that one figured out. Start a business. I started a little one, but then this was the opportunity for me to start a new business while I worked for HP. My other dream was to become a millionaire. And had I stayed there, I probably wouldn't have become one until way in my 60s, maybe. And another dream was to find a good woman to start a family. She's sitting right there. My dream is sitting in this room. And then the last dream that I reminded myself as I was preparing some of these notes is to help other people create generational wealth. I've always loved to teach people. I've always loved to show because I feel like knowledge is like water. And if water doesn't flow, what happens? It gets stagnant. It gets dirty. It smells. It stinks. Still water doesn't provide life. Moving water gives life, nutrients, flourishes things, and knowledge is the same thing. So when you learn something, you got to give it away. You got to teach it to somebody else. So I started my first business in the US. I started selling stuff on eBay, flipping stuff on eBay, as if my life depended on it, right? And you see that picture right there. That's my son Isaac. When he was a chubby kid. I know he would have appreciated that, right? Not chubby anymore. Super handsome, taller than Dad. This was our office, right? Our basement office back in those days. And we worked like our life depended on it. In fact, the beautiful woman that's sitting right there, I remember our first holiday season selling on eBay. You know, we had done okay the first 2-3 years. I met her about a year, 2 years into our business. And then Black Friday, and we were selling like a couple hundred orders a day, easy, right? We had an employee. I don't know if Hector, you were working with us back then. Yeah, he's still with me, guys. And we show up to the office. We open our screen, And it was 3,000 orders that we needed to ship. From 200 a day, we had 3,000 waiting. We didn't have systems. We didn't have manpower. I think we called a couple family members. They came for a minute, got tired, and left. So Myra and myself and Isaac, we slept in the office for 3 days, packing and shipping orders, right? Isaac was sleeping on the couch. I think we still have that couch. It's a black couch, black leather couch. I have it in my office just to remind me of what we did back then. But you know what? We didn't lose our account. We shipped every single order, and they kept coming, and they kept coming. And that's when we hit it big in eBay, or so we thought. But then there was struggles. It was growth. It was setbacks, because we're trying to figure it out by ourselves, right? And I found this amazing woman that I didn't think I deserved. Because one of the things I did is I told her, baby, you got to quit your job, right? And she looked at me like I was crazy. She was a quality assurance manager at Comcast with benefits. And about a year into it, I was pitching so hard this idea of you got to work with me that she actually said yes. So I picked her up in a limousine at her Comcast office, embarrassed her in front of all her coworkers so that she would never go back to that place. And that's when she said yes. And for the next few years, we built this business. We grew from a basement office to a warehouse and a bigger warehouse. And then we had the opportunity to buy a 50,000 square feet warehouse, which, man, that's when I met Jeff, by the way. About a month or two after I bought that building, Jeff hits me up. He knocks on our door and says, hey, I need a sponsor for one of the fights. And that's how Jeff Cisneros and I met. And I saw this hustler, this passionate hustler, chase after me. And we've known each other since then, which has been an amazing ride. And I realized in some of those days that this working for free idea, which many of you entrepreneurs, how many of you guys have worked for free in your life, in your business, right? Just to learn. How many of you have worked for free? And I realized that working for free over the years turned me into a millionaire. I worked for free for my dad since I was younger than my twins. Never paid me a dime. I think he bought me a skateboard once, right? But they took us on trips. They fed us really well. And he paid for my paragliding lessons. So that was cool. And then I worked for free at college, like I told you. And then I worked for free to build our magazine because nobody believed in us. We were kids. Nobody would buy from us. And I worked for free in my Amway network marketing business while I was at HP. And that's where I learned that I should always be reading books and I should always be listening to tapes. That was my self-development school. For years, I did that. In fact, Myra knows this, man. We had a chest full of self-development tapes for years and years and years. And I would listen to these people speak success, motivation, inspiration, drill into my brain that maybe that was possible for me. And of course, I worked for free at Hewlett-Packard to try to get that big paying job that I didn't think that I could ever get. And then I worked for free for my company. Because when we first started, and Myra knows this, our credit cards were maxed out. We didn't have much money. The money that came in for orders went out for inventory, and so forth and so on. And eventually, things started tracking. But we also lost a lot of money. You remember those games that we bought? I bought $150,000 of video games, only for them to become obsolete 3 months after I received them. And we had to throw them away, and that costed another $50,000. Back to zero. Those are the struggles. And along the way, these dreams that I had, guys, the dreams that I told you about, became a vision. And that's when things changed in a big way. And I realized that for a big vision, you can never do it alone. And one trait that I learned from my dad, which I think he passed on to me, is that idea that I could do it alone, that I could bootstrap this, that I didn't need to have any debt, that I didn't need to have any partners, that I could do this all by myself. And that's how we did it for many, many years. And I said at some point, I told myself, I can't do this anymore alone. I don't know where else to go because we had hit our limit. So I started for the first time in my life doing something that my dad never did, seeking mentors and getting in successful rooms. So I invested a lot of money in masterminds and mentorships. And I don't even know if I told Myra how much money was going out for masterminds and mentorships. She probably would have freaked out. But I remember paying for my first $25,000 mastermind. And I went in that room, and you know what happened in that room? They sold me a ticket for a $100,000 room. And I did it. But in that room, guys, that led to the biggest win in my life at that point. I met a guy in that room that called me 2 months later and said, hey, Carlos, I know that you have a warehouse. I know that you have an e-commerce business. I have a guy that needs to sell a company. Would you help him? I said, I'm going to try. So I called 10 of my customers. 3 of them were interested. 2 of them submitted an offer. 1 of them bought this company from him. And he paid me $250,000 commission for making 10 phone calls out of 1 connection in that room. So I'm like, there's something to this. And this same dude, which in the end, we didn't even like each other as partners. But this same guy calls me up and says, you know, Carlos, I just paid you $250,000. And this goes back to Jeff's story about just rolling it all back in. I had the $250,000 in my bank account, and he said, Carlos, why don't we start a supplement business, a nutrition company? What do you think about that? And I said, man, dude, this money hasn't even been in my account for 24 hours. What are you talking about? He's like, well, you put 250, I put 250. What do you say? And I don't think I even asked you about it. Let's go. Let's do it. And then we roll it all back in. And he says, you know what? We need a doctor to be our sponsor of this thing. So I go on Instagram and I find a doctor. And we co-founded Dr. Emil Nutrition. That was in 2019. And in 18 months, we built that company to 8 figures on Amazon. During COVID, half of it. And we saw for the first time, because I was going to these masterminds, these mentorships, the value of reaching out to more successful people, to having mentors, and to understanding that I could do the impossible, or what I thought was impossible. Because all of you guys at some point need to believe that you can do the impossible. That if your parents didn't do it, your friends didn't do it, your spouse doesn't think that you can do it, you can do it. Because if one other human being did it, you can. And that's the belief that kept me going all this time. So we took this 5 product. We had 5 products, guys. Nutritional supplement. And in 18 months, we took an 8-figure exit. In June 29 of 2020. On my birthday, I got the check. Remember that day. And then I thought I was going to be excited, man. Baby, we achieved financial freedom. We have millions of dollars in the bank. And it was the point in my life where I've been the most scared ever. Because I didn't know what to do next. And I think that all of us entrepreneurs that are dream chasers are like this. Because we're not in it necessarily just for the money. We're in it because we can go do something else and go help more people in the process. And I was scared, guys. And I thought to myself, I'm only in my early 40s. All this money in the bank, man, shoot. And I don't know how to multiply money. I had learned how to make money. I had learned how to save some money because we were very frugal, always lived below our means. But I never learned how to multiply it. And I was like, oh man, I never took the time to learn how to multiply money. I learned how to invest it in my businesses, but none of my businesses needed this much money to grow. So now again, I looked for a mentor, guys. Now I knew better. I was like, you know what? There's got to be a person that can help me with this. There's got to be somebody that can help me with this. And I was reminded of that vision. That vision that I told you before, which was to create generational wealth. What does that mean? Something that lives beyond me. And secondly, to help lots of people. Because when you can have both, that was my dream. That was my vision. And this vision needed a vehicle that would outlive me. Something that would be here way after I'm gone. And I was reminded of my hobby up to that point. And that was real estate. Because over the years, when I met Myra, she had a little townhouse. In her 20s, she bought a little townhouse. Right? So she beat me to it. She lived in a little townhouse. And then when we didn't sell that townhouse. We moved to a little bigger house. We rented the townhouse. And then when we moved to the other house, we rented the other house. And then I convinced her to do Airbnb. So we had this little hobby going on the side, a little gig, real estate. And for the last 15 years, I had been dabbling in real estate, right? Never really taking it seriously, never really pushing. And a friend dragged me to this event, to this real estate summit. My friend James Katina, one of my best friends in the whole world. I spoke to him on the way here. He prayed for me, right? Because he's a musician and he has a Christian band. I'm going to pray for you, bro. And I'm like, yeah, man, pray for me. I take it. So he drags me into this event with Grant Cardone. In fact, he paid for my ticket, guys. Those are the good friends. He paid $2,500 for me to have a VIP ticket at the front at Grant's event. And that's where I met my mentor, Grant Cardone. My mentor in real estate. And for the next 3 days, the guy slapped me silly. Carlos, you're thinking too small. You're thinking too small because we were buying duplexes and triplexes and little things. And this guy, Mr. 10X, Grant Cardone, which many of you guys know, and many people here have been impacted by him, he has $5 billion in multifamily real estate. And he started with a $3,500 investment. And the vision then became clear to me. After that event, I told a few of my friends, I'm going to go acquire $1 billion of multifamily real estate and help tens of thousands learn and invest in the next 5 years. Locked into that. And I started speaking that off the rooftops. And I tell you, speaking that vision has attracted the most incredible people to my team because they have aligned to a goal that is beyond us, that we cannot achieve by ourselves. And we took it so seriously. We're so obsessed about it that from July of 2021 to the next summit of 2021, we had acquired 1,000 units in multifamily real estate in 12 months. That's how fast it became. And Myra probably said, man, this dude is crazy. You're buying what now? Right? But you know what, that woman, she just smiles at me and says, go. Go do your thing. Always loving, always supporting. Never once she has told me, you can't do this. A couple of times she's saying, oh, you're starting something new? That's it. But then she goes and is like, all right. And then she enjoys it when we do it. $45 million in multifamily assets in 1 year, guys. Not by myself. With my team and my investors. So my real estate journey started with our first house. Then we bought another house. We bought a warehouse. That warehouse, guys, that we bought 10 years ago, we bought for $800,000. It was in ruins. We had to put $500,000 into it. Now it's worth $7.5 million after 10 years. Never thought we could do that. That's what I'm telling you. I didn't even put attention to it. Then we bought a house in Florida, turned it into an Airbnb. My dad passes away, leaves us a cash flowing property. So for the first time, I learned that my dad was the most terrible landlord that you could ever think. He collected rent in person. He never increased rents. He didn't have good contracts. And it was a mess when we took that over. But that taught us a lot of lessons on how to manage property well. And it cash flowed, right? It paid money. And I'm like, man, this is amazing. Can I do this with more stuff? And then I meet Grant Cardone in July, Mr. 10X. And 3 weeks after that event, I find a property in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a $20 million property. And because I was so energized from that event, and he said, Carlos, nothing but 50 units or above. And I kept hearing here in my head, it's like 50 units and above, 50 units and above. Okay, cool, 50 units and above. So I find this deal that has 54 units, residential, and 37,000 square feet of commercial at the bottom. And I call the broker. Hey, is this for sale? Yes, it's for sale. You want to come see it? And it just so happens that it was in Tennessee. My brother, James Katina, my friend, lives there. Hey, James, go see the thing. Let me know if it's good. He goes the same day, right? Excited as me. FaceTimes me from the deal. Says, Carlos, dude, this thing is just unreal. Beautiful property. We got to do this. Let's go, baby. So I show up a day after. The owner shows me. We put an offer. Never in my life I had raised a penny for anything. Not for my business, not for a project. Never took money from anybody else other than the bank for a mortgage. So I'm like, okay, how much do we need to raise? $6 million. Oof. I thought to myself, man, I've never raised money. But I kept hearing Grant, man, the deal will bring the money. Carlos, the deal will bring the money. And I kept telling myself that. So sure enough, we pitch it. And we end up buying that deal. In March of 2022 of this year, we closed. It didn't take 3 months. It took 5 months to close that deal. Myra saw me sweating bullets, right? Because the lender just took us to the ringer, right? And then I realized that real estate is the best business in the world. I'm going to tell you why real estate is the best business in the world. Because it lasts for generations, guys. This place here, beautiful place, Anthony, will be here way after we're gone. The properties that I buy, the multifamily properties that I buy, will be here way after I'm gone. It's essential and necessary. People need to rent, guys. More than ever, right now, people need to rent. It cash flows, guys. It pays monthly income without us having to work the business. It's passive. It has unreal tax incentives, guys. For the longest time, Myra and I, man, we've been writing checks to the IRS. 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. The more success we had, the bigger the checks got. And I just didn't know how to avoid it, how to stop it. This year, for the first time in 15 years of business, we didn't pay taxes. We got a refund. $50,000 refund. We kept all the money that we made because of multifamily real estate. It increases in value, guys. The banks love to lend on it. The banks love to lend on it. They'll give you money all day long if the deal cash flows. They don't do that for stocks. They don't do that for crypto. And it can become passive. And then we assemble this dream team of dreamers, of multifamily hunters that other than my brother and James Katina and maybe Miss Grace Wilson, I've known more than a year. Every single people in this picture is going after multifamily real estate in a big life. This kid sitting right here that flew in from Nashville today, Brandon Ford, quits his job at a top 5 accounting firm, KPMG, with a 6-figure salary to go buy $1 billion of real estate with me. 24 years old? 25, he turned 25. The same age as my son. Quits his 6-figure job to go hunt $1 billion business. And I feel it's the best decision that I've made, inviting you into the team, and that he has made. And I'm going to tell you what he just found, not even 2 months ago. It's coming. So then I start building this portfolio, guys. I start investing with Grant in some trophy assets, learning the business. I buy equity in beautiful properties in Houston, equity in beautiful properties in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, trophy assets that will last forever in the best locations. I find the Gateway Village, guys, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about this deal. This was my first deal. Total cost, $20 million. In 7 months, guys, I've increased the value of that deal by $9 million. By increasing the rents $500 and by putting 3 tenants in the commercial empty space. $9 million in 7 months. I still have $8 million to realize in upside in that deal. By the time we refinance in 3 years, that deal is going to be worth $37 million. Never seen a business like this, ever. Why? Because you can control the value of the property by moving up rents, by optimizing expenses. We buy our second deal in May 1st, 2022. This deal, I didn't find this deal finds me. Somebody calls me in the middle of the night, Carlos, we have a deal, 48 units in Columbus, Georgia. It's an A-class property. How much is it? $4.8 million for 48 units. $100,000 a unit? Can you buy $100,000 a home anywhere in America now? Can you buy a home that is $100,000? You can't. And it's brand new, built in 2018. Wow, I'm in. So I go walk it, and 5 minutes later, I ask, how much are the rents here? $850 a month. Wow, for a 2-bedroom apartment? That's crazy. So I go next door for an apartment complex that's built in the 1970s, and I ask, how much is the rent here for your 2 bedrooms? $1,050 a month. I was like, okay, I'm done here. I'm going to go home, write the contract. And we close it. By the time we refinance this in 24 months, Brandon laughs because we were projecting $1,150. We're writing leases for $1,500 and $1,600 a month. At our projection, it was a $5 million upside in 2 years. I don't even know what our upside is going to be, right? Probably $7 million with what we're doing right now. It's insane. It should be illegal. We're printing money. And then Brandon and James, because they're obsessive like me, find the big sister of the Gateway Village somewhere in Tennessee. I can't tell you yet because I haven't signed the contract. I'm going to sign the contract on Monday. But this deal, guys, is 138 units, built in 2021, 95% occupied, 21,000 square feet of retail, and only 1 unit available. Everything's under market rents. Everything's under market rents. The residential, the commercials, and under market rents. The area, it's hot like crazy. $187,000 per capita income in that town in Tennessee. We're buying it for $41 million with costs. I texted Brandon today, hey bro, what's our estimated value at refinance in 2 years? Or sorry, in 5 years. Conservatively, $63 million. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, what about non-conservatively? Because that's my plan, right? The conservative is what I show. The non-conservative is what I aim for. Oh, I think we're going to do $67 million in 5 years. So this deal is going to gain $20 million in value. So then I realized, guys, that I needed to start teaching this stuff because we were having so much success. So I come back from another 10X event, 10X Stages event, which I think I met Andrew there, or I really connected with Andrew there, who's one of my mentorship students here in the room. And after that event, I was so convicted, guys. And that's when really Salguero Training Technologies was born, in that room in Colorado Springs. What was it? 4 or 5 months ago. And I tell my team, guys, we gotta start a mentorship program yesterday. And we start the mentorship program. And over the course of 2 weeks, we sell $2 million of mentorships. And we bring this group together. And these three couples, 2 of those couples were in my mentorship. And these guys, halfway in, find a deal. Because I told them, guys, there's no success in this mentorship unless you guys buy a deal while we are in the mentorship. And they believed me. They believed me and they did it. And they go find a deal, guys, that doesn't exist right now, which means the loan is 3% interest only for 5 years from the seller. We are closing this deal in Rocky Top, Tennessee. The students and I. And they told me, yeah, we'll let you in because you're our sponsor, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it with you guys. I think you guys can do it by yourself, but if you want me, I'll do it. $2.9 million, guys. By the time we sell this deal in 4 years, it's going to be a $2 million upside. Most of these guys that are in the mentorship have not even bought their first home yet. Yet they're going to go make $2 million in a deal inside of 4 years and cash flow at over 9% for 4 years. Incredible. But it's the power of knowing and acting on that knowledge that creates that. So we created this mentorship that takes people by the hand for 16 weeks, shows them exactly what to do, what not to do, how to offer, how to talk to brokers, how to talk to lenders. Trevor and his beautiful wife are here, and he's one of the star students also. They built an amazing team in that group. They're after some big deals, right? And then what I wanted to do, and I told Jeff when he showed me this space, is, Jeff, man, this place needs to hold the very first Denver multifamily real estate summit. All of you guys are invited because you're here tonight. We're going to do it in January. We're going to fill this room with 500 or so people to teach them real estate, to teach them how to create massive value in these properties and create generational wealth for their families. And we're going to show them exactly how to do it. We're going to have the whole team here. We're going to have some amazing speakers. Who knows? Maybe Uncle G will show up. I think Matt Smith will help me bring that man onto this stage, right? And if not, Matt Smith will be on this stage right alongside with me, right? By the way, guys, undercover billionaire TV star Matt Smith is in the room with his beautiful wife, Jenny. Thank you so much for being my friend, man. Thanks so much for being successful. You inspire me every day. So we're going to do this, guys. We're going to sell tickets at $1,000 for the executive. We're going to sell tickets at $2,500 for the VIP. And you know why we're selling the tickets? Because unless people commit, they don't act. They don't go. And because I went to one of these rooms, it changed my life. It changed the life of the Salguero family. We're on course to do $1 billion in real estate in the next 7 years with a team. And I'm taking along with me 20-year-old somethings, right? Brandon, Eric, and a team of dreamers, Grace, that are coming along to do this with us. That deal that you guys saw in Tennessee, guys, wouldn't have happened if I hadn't found this team. This team that believes enough to go through 300 deals a month so that we can find 4 or 5 opportunities that we're willing to put an offer. And out of those 5 opportunities, one stands up and shines and says, this is the one that we need to do next. So don't ever be thinking, I can't do this. I cannot learn this. People spend hundreds of thousands of dollars getting a college degree, guys, for 4 years straight, and they graduate, and they're like, what do I do now? I haven't made one penny yet. I need to go apply. That's why I'm so thankful for my friend James Katina that dragged me into a Grant Cardone event and told me, you got to go here, and it's going to change the life of so many people that we're going to bring into this $1 billion dream. So it's time for all of us to decide, me included, guys. And this is what I thought to myself. Carlos, are you going to continue to be an spectator and watch other people build in the multifamily space? Or are you serious enough to be part of something bigger than yourself that will have its epicenter here in Denver, Colorado? And I would love for many of you guys to come along with us and build multifamily wealth. Are you going to be a spectator like I was? Or are you going to be in the arena playing with us, buying multifamily so that you can change the life of your family and your loved ones? It's been an amazing pleasure to be here with you guys tonight. Can't wait to do it again. I know that every single one of you guys are here because either I convinced them to come, even somebody's birthday, or because you believed that you could find something here. I hope you make a friend, a connection, a partnership. I hope you learn something that takes you to the next level tomorrow and that can change your life. And through that change, you can impact another person, maybe 10, maybe 100, maybe even thousands. Thanks so much. Appreciate you all. Love you. All right, what's next, Jeff? Picture with the crowd, right?
Absolutely,
All right,
absolutely.
come on. You want to get here so we can take some pictures? Sorry, guys. You're my models in the pictures. Can we turn the house lights, guys? Turn on the house lights. Smile big.
You know, it'd be pretty cool too, guys. If you guys in the crowd, you guys could put your flash on, towards Carlos while we're taking a picture.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
That would be awesome. Everybody, if you guys could please take your cell phones out and put your flash on towards him while we're taking a picture, that would be amazing.
He's done this before. There you go. Let's go. A crazy one.
Let's
Come on.
go!
Come on, guys. Unapologetically chasing your dreams. Woo! Thanks, everybody.
Hey, thank you so much, Carlos.
I appreciate it, man. Brother, good work, man. Thank you.
Hey, give it again one more time. Give it up for Carlos one more time, guys. Are y'all not motivated?
Thanks, man.
Are y'all
Appreciate
not
it, man.
motivated?
How long was that?
All right, we can turn the lights down a little bit, too. I'm dark-skinned, you know what I'm saying, and lighting is always good on dark-skinned, but damn, you know what I'm saying? I'm seeing everything. But this has been an amazing event. Jeff, we really appreciate it. Anthony, and you guys have done, this is an amazing facility, and you guys for coming out, really being tuned in and taking that step to be out here and changing the narrative in your life. It takes one conversation to change your life, and this is the room to definitely do that in. So before we go ahead and lock it down, it's been an amazing event. Before we lock it down, I do have some raffle prizes here, okay? Everybody put in their name in the box earlier, right? No, hold on. Ooh, yeah. That ain't good enough. Hey, unapologetically chasing dreams. That's not the energy that you have when you unapologetically chasing your dreams. Ooh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Now that's a chocolate, okay? Now we about that life. So now everybody filled out, you know what I'm saying, their flyers here for the drawing box. First name I'm going to go ahead and call, okay? And I did pick this out of the box with my eyes closed. First one. First one is Jeff Columbus. No, nobody? He's gone? But guess what, Jeff? We're live, and we're going to be sending that directly to your house. Please just email or text message Jeff Cisneros at pleasesendmemyprize.com. Thank you. Don't worry, we got one more. Just so you guys know, one more time for our sponsors, Breckenridge Distillery, Sparta Media, Sparta Auto 360, Social Capital, and we got one more to go, baby. The one and only, Julian Lachuga. Girl, you better come up here and get this gift, girl. Come on, give her a hand. Come on up here. We got something special for you. There she is to save the day. You looking beautiful, girl. How you doing? Awesome. So we got a nice little prize for you. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and grab it for you. But in this gift basket, we have, which we're going to kind of share a little some of this with you. We'll talk about it later. It's one bottle of Breckenridge bourbon. Bomb, it's good. I had some while I was back there. It was delicious. Okay? One. Did you drink some of mine? Not, maybe. I don't know. Don't worry. You know what I'm saying? I didn't lip it. I waterfalled it. You know what I'm saying? COVID regulation. We're good to go. We got one Sparta hat, 1 Mile High motivational mug via Jeff Cisneros, 1 pair of tickets to November 18th fight, okay? That's at the Crown Plaza Hotel, November 18th. Hey, do you like fights?
Yes, I do.
What's your favorite? Do you like MMA or you like kickboxing, boxing?
MMA. My cousin fights in it.
Okay. What's your cousin's name?
It's Mike. I can't even think of his
Mike.
name.
Oh my God, Mike. Mike. She's not coming to the family reunion. She's not. No. No, it's all good. And then 1 Chiro gun. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and we're gonna go ahead. Your prize is over there. I'm gonna go ahead and give that to you. Let me go ahead and give you this. Awesome. So that way you claim your prize. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Congratulations on winning. Go ahead and give her hands, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Guys, thank you guys for coming and attending. Unapologetically Chasing Dreams. It's real. Okay, take yourself serious. Go home. Look at yourself in the mirror. Okay, because you are serious business. Take yourself serious. Take the initiative to do what's right for you. Get your feet out the mud. Okay, and take the risk to take your life to the next level because that's what it's all about. Turn up the bass and turn up the treble. Unapologetically Chasing Dreams. This is what we do. Let's go! Thank y'all, everybody. I'm Dre Lane. Y'all can find me at Dre Lane Music on Instagram. Ooh, yeah. Y'all, thank you so much for having me. Jeff, appreciate the opportunity. Make sure you guys tip your bartenders, get your drinks. Make sure you guys hit the Step and Repeat banner. Take your photos, take your pictures, tag the event. Baby, we appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great day, and I'm out.